to introduce Representative Brandon Ellington, a very bright, promising young legislator that we have here in Kansas City. Representative Ellington represents District 22 in our city. He serves as Vice Chair of the Missouri Congress Black Caucus. He's on the Appropriations Committee, the Public Safety and Corrections Committee, Crime Prevention and Public Safety, Downsizing State Government, Governmental Affairs, Urban Issues, and Joint Committee on Corrections. And with that, I would like to have Representative Ellington take the stage and begin this forum. Thank you very much.
Before I start, I'd like to say all praise, honor, and glory be to God. I'm glad to see the turnout that came out today because this is one of the most important issues that we have facing Kansas City when we talk about the violent crime or systematic causes of crime, such as lack of investment in certain areas, our education and our social conditions that we have to address, our economic conditions, and the culturalistic aspect that we have to address, because the majority of the murders that we see in Kansas City has been black on black crime. It has nothing to do with lack of morality or the ethnicity of the people that's committing it. But in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of criminal theorists dating back to the 60s and the 50s, it has everything to do with the social and economic conditions. As a legislator, there's certain things that we can do to alleviate that. Why? Yeah, I think I'm gonna switch mic. Excuse me, can I have the wireless mic back, please? I guess they're not listening. There's certain things that we can do from a legislative standpoint. The mandate that I'm working on would actually require anybody in the state facility to get bonded and certified for whatever job that they're doing while they're locked up. So that means they have a trajectory to getting a job when they come out of the penitentiary. I'm also working on something similar that I seen the City Council and Mayor working on last year, which will remove off the felony question for non-violent offenders, for felonies, etc. in Kansas City. We're actually for the state of Missouri, but what that would do, it would allow somebody not to get discriminated against when they first go through the door. Now, private companies can still be able to do whatever background check they want to do, etc. But at least it gives somebody the ability to go in there and have an interview. There's certain restrictions that people have when they come out as far as getting a job, getting access to housing. So if we have a grown man or a grown woman that comes out of the penitentiary after doing 5 to 10 years and they can't get housing, they can't get employment, and we know by looking at the data that they're going to come to the inner cities in Kansas City and St. Louis, we can't expect the crime rate to drop. I mean, it's not going to happen. Now, if people actually have viable alternatives and ways of getting access to employment and housing, then you will start to see the crime rate drop, because we know economic development and education is the greatest thing that we can do to reduce crime. From a legislative standpoint, we can also allocate more funding to early education in the public schools, because we know when you look at the inner cities, the curriculum is lacking, and that's why I invited so many different people from the political arena. I'm glad to see our Mayor James has actually made it in here. I know I've seen the superintendent of the school board in here. I've seen various members of the city council in here. I know we have some state county legislators that's in here today. I haven't seen too many state reps yet, but I know we have senators in here. Oh, I'm sorry. They hide today. They hide. I'm actually going to bring them all up so you can know them. You can get introduced to them, because we all have to be working together. Again, when you talk about us at the state, there's certain structural things we can do with the law and allocating funding to make sure we reduce crime, because we actually give people opportunities. When we talk about our local government, there's certain investing that they can do in the impoverished areas that we know will generate economic development and natural investments in an area that has been left to demise. And my district, my state district, the 22nd district, overlaps the 3rd district. The majority of my district is in the 3rd district. And I have like 3.5, 4 miles of Independence, Missouri. And I see the same economic, social and economic paradigm in both of my districts, even though they try to colonize them and say Independence is different than Kansas City. Part of my district, Independence, has the same socialistic and economic deprivation that I see in the 3rd district. I'm more than happy to work, and I have to pick on Senator senator out in that area, and Senator Curls is my senator in this area. I have 2 senators. I'm looking forward to working with both of them to address the economic and the social conditions in that area. I've invited various religious institutions out here, or people from religious institutions, because of the cultural aspect that we have to address. Because right now in the black community, we're not valuing life. In my opinion, it's not necessarily a gun problem. When I go to rural areas and I go in a constituent house, he has 50 guns sitting in the living room. But they're not shooting each other at the rate that we shoot each other in the inner city. And that's a lack of respect for ourselves and our own lives, and that's something that has to be addressed culturally. The socio-economic aspect is something that in the political arena we definitely can address. I'm trying to run through everything because I'm about to bring people up. This will be an open dialogue forum, so any questions or concerns you have, come up and talk about it. We're not just going to talk about the problem, though. We're actually going to create action steps, and we're going to have follow-up forums and seminars to see what worked, what didn't work, because this is something that has to be addressed. When I was 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, we used to walk around talking about this killer city. I'm 32 now, and I look at the generation below me, they still walking around talking about this is killer city. So this is not going to change unless we come together and we work collectively. I also have law enforcement in here. I have law enforcement here for a couple reasons. I've seen Chief Forte back there, and I know he has a couple deputies in here. Law enforcement cannot lock everybody up. That is impossible. Nor can we expect the penitentiaries to hold everybody. 91% of the people that's in the state penitentiary, they're getting released. So we have to work on the viability of somebody that comes out of the state penitentiary to reassimilate back into society. Now, law enforcement has its proper place. If we put 1,000 cops on 39th and Prospect today, we're not going to do anything but disperse crime around Prospect. Then you're going to see it in Independence. You're going to see it in South Kansas City. You're going to see it on the west side of Kansas City. So we have to be extremely strategic when we address a systematic cause of crime. And the people that actually got agenda, obviously I didn't print it up, but the people that got an agenda actually spell out what systematic is. It's methodical. It's intentional. When I look at the lack of, in my opinion, it's intentional. Because we know we put money here, or we put resources here, or we invest in an area over here, and we intentionally disinvest. And when you look at the paradigm of who votes and who doesn't vote, there's a direct correlation to impoverished areas that don't participate in the political process and more affluent areas that participate in the political process. So again, it's on the community to stand up and to say enough is enough, and not just give lip service, but to actually put in the work, because this is something that we're going to have to work to do. I invited a lot of grassroots organizations here, because the grassroots organizations is the backbone. These are organizations that do work day in and day out. Some of these organizations is funded, some of these organizations aren't funded. But I would like to create a humanistic infrastructure with the grassroots organizations and work with my colleagues in the political arena to make sure we actually have a follow-through and we address what we can address from our respective elected positions, along with making sure we give our grassroots organizations the type of resources and support that they need to do the work that we can't do. And not picking on anybody, but just to let you know the difference at the state, we only hear on the weekends. So when we talk about the senators that we have and our state representatives that we have, the majority of our time is spent in Jefferson City. When you talk about your local government, obviously they're here, but it's a lot of time that you spend away from your family and that you're obligated to go to various places. And and I just said all that to say this. We have a lot of good people that's in office. We need the community to do their job, and the ones that aren't doing their jobs, we need to make sure that we let them know that we're not going to stand for it anymore. With that being said, I'd like to have all the political colleagues stand up. That way I can recognize them for being in here and actually bring them up. I'm doing 2 minutes for everybody in the political arena. 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Like I said, 2 minutes. And I appreciate all of them for coming out. Because again, our time is extremely short without how much obligations that we have. By them coming out, they show that they're concerned, that they're committed to working with the community. After they get up, I'm going to have all the various social service agencies come up, because it's a great deal of resources that need to be distributed to the community, and then we're going to open up the forums.